Something really important happened yesterday. This whole tariff face off with Canada and Mexico. Spoiler alert, we won. Trump got what he wanted. But more than that, we all learned an incredibly valuable lesson. We learned an answer to a mystery that I think most American adults, taxpayers, have been asking themselves for as long as we've been adults and voting and paying our taxes. And that is, why can't the government function? Why can't the government get stuff done? Why can't the government solve problems? Why do we keep hearing promises after promises after promises about what they're going to do and the problems they're going to solve? And then at the end of the day, problem isn't really solved. Well, what we saw yesterday at the hands of our president, Donald Trump, finally tells the American people, this is how you get stuff done. This is how you solve problems. Mystery solved. Now we get it. Let's start with Karoline Leavitt, who sort of explains exactly how things went down here on the whole tariff issue between Canada and Mexico.
We are 2 weeks in, and President Trump is already delivering big wins for the American people. Let's go through the facts. On the border, President Trump declared a national emergency, deployed the military, ended catch and release, and reinstated Remain in Mexico. And already, illegal crossings are down 95%. We are resuming construction of the border wall, and Colombia's president is now offering his own plane for deportation of illegal Colombian immigrants. On the economy and energy, President Trump unleashed American energy, declared a national energy emergency, and killed Joe Biden's radical electric vehicle mandate. Wall Street is booming, AI investments skyrocketed to $500 billion, and there's $20 billion flowing into U.S. data centers across our country. President Trump is restoring law and order. He labeled the drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and he is deporting criminal illegal aliens, and he signed the Laken Riley Act into law. Draining the swamp, President Trump signed more than 45 executive orders. DEI has been purged from the government and our military, and lazy federal workers have been ordered back to the office. And when it comes to free speech and transparency, President Trump took 12 times more press questions than Joe Biden did in a week, reinstated 440 silenced journalists to the press room, and ended government censorship. Promises made, promises kept, and we're just getting started.
And in that minute and a half video, you saw an encapsulation of the last 2 weeks of achievements, of problems that we were told were insurmountable. Oh, yeah, the border is a problem. All these people are crossing the border, but what can we do about it? Hey, the border is secure. Oh, sure, people are flooding across, but we can't really do anything about it. Crime's a problem, I know, but what can we do about it? Oh, energy, my gosh, I know, it's incredible that we have to rely on these foreign countries for energy, but what can we do about it? There's nothing we can do about it. He did something about it. You use your executive powers, you go in, you have a mandate to fix something, you have the will to fix something, and you fix it. And it's done. I mean, this is remarkable. I don't remember seeing this in my lifetime. That we're going to get to the tariff thing in a minute, and how that's the perfect microcosm of what Trump was able to achieve. But let's get to this a little bit more. Karoline Leavitt also appeared on Fox to sort of elaborate on this.
There is so much good news, so much winning out of the Trump White House right now that the mainstream legacy media can't keep up with it, because President Trump is signing executive order after executive order, delivering on promise after promise, and implementing fundamental change of our bloated bureaucracy and our corrupt government here in Washington, D.C. He was given a once-in-a-generation mandate by the American people to govern and to fundamentally transform Washington, and that's exactly what he is doing. And we finally, after 4 years of chaos and mayhem and apologizing for America, have a president again in the Oval Office who is standing up for America. And this is what it looks like when you have a leader of our great nation who uses the leverage of the United States, who understands that since our nation's founding, we have been viewed as that shining light on the hill. We have been viewed, rightfully so, as the best, proudest country in the world. And President Trump is not afraid to say that or to use that for the American people's benefit. And that's why you have seen so many countries around the world in just a matter of 2 weeks
caved to President Trump's demands. In the past 24 hours, you have Canada and Mexico agreeing to help secure our southern and northern borders. And these tariffs that President Trump threatened to impose on both Canada and Mexico, and they were sign, seal, deliver, I may add, those were retaliatory tariffs for the last 4 years of treatment by Canada and Mexico of our nation. They have allowed an unprecedented wave of illegal deadly drugs and illegal criminals on our territorial borders. And President Trump said, enough is enough.
Here's the thing. It's just when you hear the litany of all the things that have been accomplished here, when she lays it out there like that, you reach this one undeniable conclusion as you watch this unfold. So let me get this straight. We can just do things, right? Like we have a problem. We have an idea of what we want to do to fix it. We want to solve the problem. So we just do it. We don't talk about it. We don't propose legislation for it. We don't debate about it. We just do it. We just do things. That's what we've done for the last 2 weeks. We've just been doing things. We're not used to that in this country. We're not used to a government functioning like this. You just heard Caroline Leavitt talk about the tariffs. Let's talk about it. And I love the fact that she pointed out that these tariffs that were being proposed by President Trump on Mexico and Canada were not starting a trade war. They were a retaliation to the war that had already been waged on us. Answer me something. Why are we supposed to just sit back knowingly and allow the Mexican government in bed with drug cartels to do nothing about these criminal mob gangs operating freely on our border with their coyotes and their human smugglers and their drug smugglers and the human trafficking and the child trafficking and the pedophiles, utilizing cars, trucks, donkeys, human beings, children to transport drugs across our border? We know that it's happening. They know that it's happening. They are Mexican citizens who are violating Mexican law too, and the Mexican government's like, I don't know, we can't do anything about it. That's your problem. And then our government for the last 4 years has been like, what are you talking about? There's no problem. Everything's fine. The border's secure. Oh, I'm sorry. How many thousands of fentanyl deaths have we had to suffer in this country? Oh, I guess there is a problem. Wait a second. Oh, is there an election coming up? Yes, the fentanyl problem is a very real problem. And if you give me 4 more years, then I'll solve that fentanyl problem. That's the treadmill we were just on. Forgive the offensive Mexican accent. It came out of nowhere. Trump gets into office and he says, all right, number one, we're going to have our border patrol the border. We're going to make our border secure. We're not going to let people illegally cross here. Oh, they claim asylum? That's fine. You can claim asylum where you're standing, but you're not going to come here and claim asylum. And then have Immigration Customs Enforcement actually arrest people who have broken our laws and deport them. And have the Border Patrol do what they swore an oath to do and what they got the badge for in the first place after all their training, which is not to process paperwork for people who just violated the border, but to actually patrol the border and keep these bad guys at bay. All right, so we did that for the first 2 weeks. And then this week, Trump comes in and he says, so what's Mexico going to do here? Here, Mexico, I'd like you to put 10,000 people on the border. I want you to put 10,000 people to patrol your side of the border because these are your people who are doing this to us. Right? We can control our side, but it would be a lot easier if you did something on your side. So 10,000, that's what we want. And Mexico says, screw you. And that's when they were reminded that it wasn't Joe Biden or Barack Obama in the Oval Office anymore. And so Donald Trump threatened 25% tariffs on all of their goods and did the same for Canada because, first of all, you have to treat both sides in the United U.S., Mexico, Canada trade agreement relatively equally, but also we've got a problem up in Canada as well. Both of our borders should be protected. All right, we're going to treat both of our border countries equally. And Mexico says, oh, no. We're not going to do anything for you. You want to tariff us? Fine, we'll tariff you. And that lasted about 3 hours. And then what happened? Well, somebody in Mexico City did the math. somebody figured out exactly what would happen if we put that 25% tariff on all goods coming in from Mexico. And then Donald Trump quickly announced this on social media. Just spoke with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico. It was a very friendly conversation, wherein she agreed to immediately supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border separating Mexico and the United States. Where was this for the last 4 years? Where was this? What? See, this is my point. We can do things. We can actually do things. You figure out what you want to do. You figure out how you want to solve a problem. And then you say, okay, how are we going to get this done? And then you do it. And he just did it. Just like that. Whereas Biden gives speeches and Alejandro Mayorkas goes on George Stephanopoulos and he repeats his, hand-wringing talking points and lies left and right and just hopes the problem goes away. And meanwhile, your nephew is dying from a fentanyl overdose and nobody cares. And the next thing you know, Trump tweets a few things, rattles his saber a little bit, and Mexico's sending 10,000 soldiers to the border because we're just doing things. These soldiers will be specifically designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants into our country. We further agreed to immediately pause the anticipated tariffs for a 1-month period, during which we will have negotiations headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, and high-level representatives of Mexico. I look forward to participating in those negotiations with President Sheinbaum as we attempt to achieve a deal between our two countries. I think my favorite part of this whole thing, is Trump says, I'm going to levy a 25% tariff on you guys if you don't do this. And they say, no, screw you. We're not going to do it. 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 Okay, fine, we'll do it. And Trump's response is, okay, good. I'll put a 1-month pause on the tariffs. And in Mexico, they're like, what are you talking about 1-month pause? We said we're going to do what you wanted us to do. 1-month pause? No, get rid of the tariffs. He says, no, let's see what happens. Let's see how you do. Let's see how you perform. The tariffs will be in effect in 1 month unless you actually get shit done. There's something so amazing about seeing this all transpire. So then, of course, people in the media, I loved it. On MSNBC, you had Joe and Mika all morning yesterday. Chaos, there's chaos. We're going to have tariffs, so there's chaos. So we don't know. And literally during their show, there's like, this just in, Mexico has agreed to everything Donald Trump wanted. But then they said, but Canada's different. Canada's different. They're not going to do anything. Canada's holding firm. Canada, we got a problem with Canada. And, we get oil from Canada. That's going to be a problem. And we get lumber from Canada. That's going to be a problem. And when people find out how much their maple syrup's going to cost, this is going to be a big problem. Trump stepped in it again. It's over. It's over. And then yesterday afternoon, Justin Trudeau, social media. This is my favorite part. Trump has a conversation with Justin Trudeau and says, you know what, Justin, I could tweet this out, but like I did with Sheinbaum down in Mexico, but I'll tell you what, you tweet it. I want it to be in your voice with your name and your social media picture. You tweet to the world what you've just agreed to. And so he did. I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly, say it with me, 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. He goes on to talk about a Canada-U.S. joint task force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, money laundering, and then says proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together. It seems easy. I think because it is easy. If you have leadership, if you have a goal, if you have a strategy, if you have a will, if you haven't worked in Washington for 50 years like Joe Biden had, if you actually have expectations of people, if you decide that, they elected us to do something, so let's do stuff. And finally, we're actually seeing stuff get done. Stuff that we've been told for years could never happen. And it's happened in 2 weeks. Trump then took to social media at the end of the day. Canada has agreed to ensure we have a secure northern border and to finally end the deadly scourge of drugs like fentanyl that have been pouring into our country, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans while destroying their families and communities all across the country. I just want to pause here. As I think everyone in this country at this point knows somebody, or they know somebody who has had a tragedy due to fentanyl. And it really is a tragedy. And we've been told, all the hand wringing, all the shrugging, it's like, oh, it's terrible. Thoughts and prayers, terrible. Can't do anything about it. We know where it's coming from. We know how it's getting here. We know what to do to stop it, and yet we did nothing. Can I just say, and I know I'm oversimplifying this, and I know that this might not do the trick, okay? So I don't want to overpromise here. But if this does do the trick, if locking down our border in this way and getting cooperation from Mexico and Canada, why shouldn't we have cooperation from them? And if they actually work to shut down this border and actually imprison these drug cartels and stop them and stop the flow of fentanyl, and China is lurking there because a lot of this fentanyl, if not all of it, is coming from China. If this actually does the trick, and within the next 2 years, we see an incredible decrease in the number of fentanyl deaths, what a miracle. What an incredible miracle this would be. And another lesson that when we see problems, we can fix them. We can, Biden used to say this all the time at the end of the speech. There's nothing that we can't do. We are the United States of America. To him, it was a talking point. To Trump, it's actually an action item. That's right. There is nothing we can't do, but we got to do it. And he's doing it. Canada will implement their $1.3 billion border plan, and as per Prime Minister Trudeau, will be reinforcing the border with choppers, technology, personnel. So he sort of reiterates everything that Trudeau just said. And then he finishes, as president, it's my responsibility to ensure the safety of all Americans, and I'm doing just that. I'm very pleased with this initial outcome, and the tariffs announced on Saturday will be paused for a 30-day period to see whether or not a final economic deal with Canada can be structured. Fairness for all. So where's everybody who was screaming about the tariffs over the weekend? Where's everybody yesterday at the first half of the news cycle who were screaming about how these tariffs were going to ruin our economy and ruin the stock market, and they're never going to work, and this is the problem when you put somebody like Donald Trump in charge, and this is never going to work, and you should leave it to the professionals. And now the problem is solved, and he did it, and he fixed it. And where are they all? I'll answer my question. They've moved on to U.S. aid. Now they've said that that's a coup, and Elon Musk is a rogue foreign agent who's taking control of our government. And they just moved on to the next thing without any apologies, without any corrections, without saying, oh, I guess we got that one wrong. And all the geniuses out there who told us that tariffs are awful, tariffs are a nightmare, and tariffs won't work. And let's just be clear here. There were no tariffs on Mexico and Canada. What worked was not tariffs. What worked was the mere threat of tariffs. Charles Payne took some time to point that out.
We were told tariffs don't work, trade wars are lose-lose. What happened?
Well, we were told wrong. and that was the craziest part about all of this. Is you just go and check history. For instance, tariffs mean automatic inflation. Look at Smoot-Hawley. Well, go look at it. It was the greatest deflationary period of our time. In fact, that was the issue. Well, tariffs can hurt the economy. Look at the Roaring 20s. We had the Emergency Tariff Act in 1921, and we had the Fort Macomber Act in 1922 that went all the way through 1930. The market up 500%. Go back to McKinley, the same thing. It's so ironic. Tariffs actually worked, and they worked very well. And believe me, when they talk about these extra 30 days, you wonder, okay, well, what's that about? You got to believe that President Trump, and he keeps dropping hints, would love to go for the whole shebang. Canada, the 51st state. We have Greenland, and we keep these tariffs on because we want to bring businesses back. We want to bring manufacturing back. We want to really, really secure long-term prosperity. A few years ago, when all the experts said China was going to pass America, what was the main reason for that? China plays the long game. We got to play the long game. You have people out there 1 hour into the tariffs already declaring us losers, right? So we've got to play a longer game, and the longer game is actually using our might while we have it.
That's right. And frankly, that's exactly what Donald Trump has done for the first 2 weeks of his presidency. Let's just summarize here and explain exactly what just happened. starting with Caroline Levitt and that incredible list of achievements in just 1 week with President Trump, including the Laken Riley Act, which is the first bill that he signed into law with the new Republican majority in the House and the Senate with bipartisan support with Democrats, who now make it, deportable and illegal for somebody to stay in this country after committing a certain type of crime. I think it should be any crime. I'm sorry, you're in this country as our guest and you jaywalk, you're out of here. But nobody said that could get done either. Biden always used to do this too. Yeah, nobody said we could do it, but we got it done. No, nobody never said you can do it because you didn't do anything other than just pass more bills to spend more money. Anyone can do that in Washington, D.C. That's all they do. You look at what Donald Trump did, looking at very real problems with our border, with our military, with our energy policies, with gender issues in our schools, and on and on and on. He said he was going to fix it, and he fixed it. And he got stuff done because he put his mind to it. And he said, yeah, okay, what's stopping us from doing it? Nothing's stopping us from doing it. Let's do it. And we did it. And suddenly there's a mystery that's been looming over all of us for decades now. People who look at our federal government as ineffective and incompetent and dysfunctional. And we just keep spending good money after bad, trying to prop this government up, even though we continue to go into debt. And suddenly we think that they can't do anything. And this guy comes in and he just does things. The mystery is solved. How do you get things done with our federal government? How do you get things done in Washington, D.C. and actually fix problems? You elect the right kind of people, and then they get stuff done. They just do things. Wow. Let's hope this trend continues. Have you seen that there's news out there from economists, the experts? They're forecasting a depression, not a recession, a depression by the year 2030. See, it's this perfect storm of Social Security and Medicare hitting a breaking point with the largest generation about to hit retirement. Now, a smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. Pair that with a growing national debt and rising cost of living, and, well, that's why they're predicting a pretty big problem on the horizon. So what are you going to do right now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. See, this is the kind of diversity we like. Birch Gold is going to help you transition. It's also one of the transitions we like. Help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, real physical gold. And it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. So protect your future today. Text Larry, that's my name, Larry, Larry, to 989898. Get a free info kit on gold. And you'll also get a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era. That includes a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation. We're only here to give you information. Text my name, Larry, to the number 989898. Do that today.